What did you know that other TV people might not have known about the best way to present magic on TV when you had these legends on your show?
Well, luckily, I knew what they wanted, what they needed, what they performed, what were not to put a camera, if you see what I mean. For example, it's something a magician doing certain manipulations at a table like the great Slydini did on my show. You don't want to put a camera to one side of him. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah.
But I knew sort of things. So because magicians had been screwed badly by inept appearances on television by people who didn't know magic and didn't know, as in this example, not to put a camera to the right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's video of at least one of Slydini's appearances on your show on YouTube. And I noticed that not only did you put the camera in the right place, but I don't believe there's hardly a cut ever even to a reaction shot. It's just the camera's locked down, Slydini does his stuff, and it's as if you were sitting across the table from him.
Yeah, it was done live without any editing, which was just people would suspect. And people who saw him just said, I didn't know what magic could be until I saw Slydini, who with coins and cards and cigarette and things just performed miracles one after the other. And it was a great thing because he was a great success. I mean, he was known in the magic world as an idol and genius, but he hadn't ever been on television. Well, he had been once in Italy, and he swore off television for life.
How did you then get him to be on your show?
Well, I met him by sheer accident. I was going to see Doug Henning's Evening of Magic on Broadway, and going backstage there in the dressing room was Slydini.
Wow.
And I chilled all over. And he said, you do Cavett? And I said, yeah. He said, maybe I'm going to do your show. And I brought me two, and as they say, then they brought me two more. And I said, would you? And he did this stunning appearance. And the next day, for the first time in his life, he said, I go to my store to buy a paper. They say, oh, Mr. Slydini, we saw you on the television. And it added another dimension to his already successful career. And I had him on several times after that. He just loved it. He was just tremendously wonderful magician and a nice man who taught magic and shepherded kids into their introduction to cards, sleight of hand, and coins and so on. So it was nice that I boosted the already successful career of Slydini by putting him on television. When I saw him in Doug Henning's dressing room backstage, it was like, to me then, what Woody Allen said the first time Sid Caesar walked into the room when he was a young man, got a job on the Sid Caesar show. He said, it's like seeing a god. And that's the way, it was that way when I saw Sid Caesar too. But that's how it felt when I saw, there's Slydini. We're in the same room. There's nothing but air between us. Wow. By the way, I see you have involved with Steve Cohen.
Yeah, we chatted with him a couple weeks ago, and we both have had the pleasure of seeing his show back when it was at the Waldorf before it moved.
Did he do the kettle, the magic?
Yes.
Like just an old sweet kettle.
Yes.
That poured drink called for?
Any drink.
It's one of those tricks I don't want to know how it's done. It's so amazing.
Really.
Me too, because it is a fact when people say, oh my God, I'd give anything if I could know how you did that. And you learn quickly not to tell them, not to be mean, but because the only reaction you get, oh, is that all it is?
Yep.
Oh, Eddie Murphy offered me $10,000 to show him how I did a certain trick. And I couldn't take it. I just couldn't. It was a floating dollar bill.
So you had it sounds like the pleasure of having a lot of your heroes in magic on the show. One that jumped out for me right away was that you got to see Ricky Jay early on.
This is odd timing. I thought of Ricky Jay yesterday and got sad all over again. Ricky Jay was a young man who mastered sleight of hand magic. I saw Woody Allen and I went to see him on the show in New York one night. And afterwards he said, let's go to a restaurant. And do you know one near here? And somebody said, yeah, why not this one? We went in there. About 8 of us, other young magicians were eating. And suddenly one of the waiters came over. And he said, you're magicians. I wonder if you'd be interested in this. It's an antique deck of cards. And he had this valuable antique deck with different designs, and I don't know if it had the 4 suits or 5 or 6 suits, really an old collector's item. And Ricky took it and he said, "This is a wonderful thing. Do you mind if I just, shuffle it and play around, do a couple flights with it?" He had someone at the table select a card from the antique deck, took it, and surprisingly threw it at a bottle that was sitting on the table. When they picked up the cards that had scattered all around when the deck hit the bottle, the chosen card was inside the bottle. Somebody else I know went with him once out in the country, and they got lost, and they didn't get to the place they were supposed to go to, but they went to a restaurant nobody knew, sat at a table, ate. Somebody pointed out that somebody's derby had been sitting on the table all this time. And Ricky Jay said, "Is that your hat?" The guy, "Yeah." So, "Do you mind if I touch it?" No. Ricky picked up the derby sitting there, and under it was a 5-pound block of ice. Figure it out.
You had brought up Teller of Penn and Teller. They were on your show, I know, early in their careers. What, in your opinion, what set them apart, or why did you want them on your show?
Well, I had seen their show in New York. Penn and Teller did Broadway a couple times, and I just thought, I got to know these guys. So in my pushy way, I went backstage and introduced myself, and we became really good friends. And they're wonderful because they've really been an asset to the world of magic. Teller came to my house in the country for a weekend once, and we were standing around in the kitchen, and you hate to ask a magician do some tricks, so that's not part of the decorum of magic. But Teller, knowing that I wanted to see something unusual, said okay. And we were in the kitchen, and he said, "Do you have a sharp knife?" And I said, "Yeah, I got one out of the drawer." And he poked his finger, it pointed at the end of the fingertip with the knife, causing blood to come out. And it came out in a sort of solid bubble of blood at the end of his finger. And I thought, well, this isn't anything I've ever heard of in magic. And he said, "You have to be observant about things." And he directed our attention to the bubble of blood that was there all the time, never went out of sight on his fingertip. But suddenly, poking it with the knife, it was a live ladybug, which flew away.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't want to know how he did that.
No.
I could not believe my eyes, a phrase that comes up often in the world of magic. So Teller has one on me. I think he would tell me, but I sort of enjoy not knowing. You know what I mean? It's nice to not know one thing in magic.